Hello นั่นดำให้หมอ exercise กันเราหมวกตูตุมีกันเรลดึงมีเรลตั้งสลัดที่มีกันดูเสร็จมีโจนี่ดังคัดโจประเทศทูหมอเลยลงทุนทูหมอจะเวกันกันเรลนั่นตูตุมเฮโจกันมาเลยกันมาที่personal get to know you กันที่เราไปจะเตะเขามีเดา invest สลัดกันที่ so กันทอกจีดึง
สเกล
กลุ่มเจ้าที่สิน US นัดแข่งUS นัดแข่งลานะคอยต้องการนะจะได้เขามีคอยนรักแทนทันนักขวานักนักกันที่เจ้าเขามีกลุ่มเจ้าสินนัก
โอเคครั้งอาจจะ simple ตกกติยังอาจจะคนUS อาให้กลุ่มโน้ตเองกับแข่งเตะจนยังก็ดังกระทรวงนักขจรลุงหัวมีตั้มปีนขัดกันเทเลมเราเมนลาเสด็จงี้มั้ง
ไปขัดกับแข่งได้
สิลุงหัวขัดกระทรวงลุงหัวเห็นกลุ่มงาเตียงกับจนมาเลเซียค่ะ like กลุ่มรกกิมซิกกลุ่ม7กลุ่ม3ที่แวกหลักโลตักินค่ะมาเลเซียกูใช้ละมาค่ะกันแข่งทักขัดกลุ่มขัดเละทะเลกันจะได้คนก็กลุ่มเรียดกติตะกะค่ะ US กันแข่งจู่ๆกับ basic life story แต่เสีย
ไปขัดค่าลุงหัวกันแข่งบัวรอนเกียงอ่ะเสียอินกระเทยแล้วจะได้กำลังเรื่องๆไรกับปูประคัดเต็นลุงหัวมีผลนะสีค่าอินตีค่ะไวนิม
อัมปุก
อัมปุกค่ะอินเปย์ตำด่านจมัวจู่ๆครูไทยเราฮิกอลรอนมีน้ำปอยที่ไร
ลุงหัวนี่กันมิลาตี
ครูไทยตั้งแต่เตี้ยเสียแกขัดจูท้องนี่ปาเรียติสิน US กับแข่งคามิลานาคันมาเลเซียคันขกุมทุมเจกเตกันรัก
คอยนะ
กำลังนั่นTBCA คันกัวลาลัมปุระคันกุมขัดเจกเตกันรักTBC ก็ไหนเขาTB เขาก็ไหนดึงกระซุ่มเรานั่น
ไหนดึงกระซุ่มเรานั่นที่ไหนคันanyways ท้องนี่เรียดกันรักแข่งเลย
เลยก็ดุมครุเดียวละ That's just me
excuse but 2008ท้องนี่เลยเรียดกันรักแข่งเวนั่นมาลงแต่กันในคัน November กันแข่งอัฐา
Man I remember นั่นแข่งนั่นนี่เขานั่นแข่งไม้เจ้
กันมากันแข่งไม้มั้งกันใน November ใช่กันแข่ง
แค่คัด June เอ็นกันแข่ง
จนนั้นมานั่นแข่งไม้มาเลยรอต่อละ June July August September October November
สินั่นมาเลเซียเขานั่นแข่งไม้มั้ง
2006กุมจำช่อง
กันบังอดผ่าสิจ้ะกับปูอินคันUS นั่นเช่นคันเล่นับปะคตารังหล่นแต่ค่ะรักโฮลเตียงโอ้นาวกันสีขายตินกับปูอินคันอินรักติดาจุดน่าค่ะกระรวดดกดีค่ะนั่นแข่งมายากระรวดแม่ GPS เราไว้กระเราเล่งไล่นาซีปังอาสุงกระเรา
น่า try เรื่องนี้ good effort it's the effort that counts
yeah นาซีปังอาสุงเรา Great Inspiration Charlotte กันเลย normally it's like an hours and 20 minutes yeah it took me 5 hours
จู่ๆลุงหัวมีนะสีเวลุงหัวจงแต่เห็นนะจงเทียมซุนเตทอนค่ะ
left the chat
น่าเทียมนักได้การุนสวตา
ก็เทียมตกแล้ว
กับมินจู่ที่แวกครองค่ะวัน introduce
wow that is awful ยังติดโซนเต
อิมิง
กัน producer ดงละมาบักเลย
อิมิง
เกย์ลำนั้นกระเทียมนอน
แล้วเกย์อิมิงตัว
เกย์อิมิงตัวจอเซฟเลียนซิง
เทียมโลกัน audience ปลดละให้นั่นมังบังนั่งลุงหัวแต่ที่นั่นไทยด่านั่นก็ซุ่มเลี่ยมเราไว้เตะจนกันมาตรงเตะเลยค่ะกันในเวฟอนแต่กะค่ะกัน
อุ่นเหล่าง่าย
ย่า
ก็น่าฮักแต่สินคันกลุ่มให้ถุมกระตีนคันมาตามมาส่วนเสียปิตาเต้นเห็นคันกระสามีว่าคันมั่วจะต่อกันสินคันฝรั่งต้องลงกันมังนี่ติน Bible กันเสียคลาสเสียทุกทั้งทักกันเสียมามั่ว Bible study กันในคลาสเสียฝรั่งต้องลงกันมังจะได้คนขมีคันตรงนนเราเห็นคันกับไปอินรักตานนุยสินคันมั่วขมีคันมาเลเซียคนอินากับบัดลงจะได้มาเลเซียลำกันราจิจะลองค่ะกันขอต้องไก่ไม้มีผลต้องกระเทียมตกนนแล้วจะได้ตายายกันขดที่ดิ่มตรงกันมังคำมีอาจารย์ตัวที่ดิ่มตรงที่จะติดปินกระเทียมตกนนแล้วนั่นก็เทถูเท่าลุงหัวตรงคลาสสิกก็เทถูเท่า
นั่นมาลงแต่ตรงนั้นค่ะ
โอ้เราเลยเสีย น้ำหลาวก็บังซึก
นั่นยังกระดังน้ำมอเราอินสุงสังอ่ะฝรั่งตรงมังมิสเตกะมอนั่นอัดลังไปทุนตัวนั่งมาอินสุงสังในช่างอาจุค่ะฝรั่งตรงกิลหิมค่ะทบียังอาจจะเบียกันอ่ะคำนี้ฝรั่งตรงกันมังมีตรงปีอาศิเตกะมอยังอาจจะเลยจูกันตรงคาเทนิงอ่ะทบีเวทเขาก็มันเสียละกันคมนักmain language กันติไปจมอตรงปีเบียกงาเฮฝรั่งตรงที่กันฟ้าเลตียงกันคาเซเตเทียมดึงเทตร์ดึงค่ะทบี
พูดแล้วจะลงหัวตรงกับตรงเลยมีเจ้าหลาสวกจะเลยมีเจ้าก็วนตรงเลยโง่นะสวก
เทียมผิวเลยสิเหล่านั้นเดียว
กระต่างเจียมเจ้าแต่กัน so คำนี้ทัวร์จังกันลุดตั้มตกนนเราดังนี้อีมาลี US ในรัฐเห็นนู่นฉันคันที่ใน struggle ตัวยังกับที่แกหาสนักที่เวกนัตนมีที่เวกที่ปังโมมาชีเลยังเวกันสิจู่ๆเนี่ยไทยนักนั่นเอง
สิหาสนักตั้มจุดตั้มนะสายังอาจจะเลยมาเลเซียสินยังกระดังกุมขัดเลยทะเลลงกันนมแต่กะขาดลงกายนักกันเนเราหม้อจนกันไม้กันเร่งหลายคันลงเคียสีเราแรงso
มาเลเซียเราเหล่าที่
2008 2006เลย7จุดรถอะไรส่วนมันสีเราจ้ะดูเสียไมเคิลฮงดีแวกวันนี้ค่ะอันอินvocabulary ดีแวกเตอินเซอร์จุดเวียลสิจุ่มcucumber watermelon ดีแวกเราคิดกันเทจุยังมันกันชัดน้ำปีเราก็จะไม่เหม็นจุ่มง่ายๆเด่นที่สุดเลยจุดรองอ่ะคือแข่งเป็กได้หลายคลาสเสีย you know bullying ดีแวกจนยังก็จะต้องสมแต่นักดีแวกคิดกันตัวจะยังอาจจะเลยมีรังจงลุงวัดเทโลปักกันคิดกันรักแข่งแต่ก็มั่วหาร์เซตfirst memory ก็เทบิก็เทริงมีจูพุ่นทุ่มก็ทอกอ่ะมั่วJanuary ก็ทอกอีกค่ะทัวร์อินเปียกนั่นค่ะrestroom ค่ะรักมังจูลตกสมอก็จนรักสวกตกนั่นค่ะเสียมาค่ะวันดีลิงค่ะกังหำเรา I was so not confident สุดนั้นลิงค่ะเทียมเราอีกค่ะกังหักริงอีจู่ๆ lunch กันเฟะเทนหูลำเปียค่ะจนกันถอดไหลจู่บัดคำมีหุ่นเตะค่ะตัวนี้เตียงคือ I cannot forget that คำมีเตะมีตัวquestion in สุดมีค่ะทกดาวินกันวนกันแกหิมฮิจูก็อุปเดวลองอ่ะเฮยังกระดังกันนุนนัก in shape ตัวตักที่เฮ like กาเฟียงกระเตไปจมอคำมีนักไล่ตาปอจูซีคดินฟัดเตนมอฮิติน in shape วิวมันจะละตัว the biggest intake that I would take from that question would be college กะไกไล college กะไกเตกะเห็นBible ลองกะไกเตเอาall those and the closest bigยังกระทั่งมินุงดานี่การินสันมีกติมีพอลินคาเซเซตียังมีรองอาโซหิมิลังหินตะไกนัดเทนหัวคีปุ่มจอมนักดิ่งกะหาร์ตกดึงจนเบียกินดีเฟกมันนานๆจนมันหมอไปสาตั้มปีนังเราดิ่งใน education นักไกมีทอนค่ะอามิลอนนเราดิ่งยังมีรองอาสิหิมิลังหินนัด choose หิมินัดเทนหัวIT เราเล่คอมพิวเตอร์ละมาคีฝุ่นไกเอาละจุคีกะเราดูสักเซตตีดูดละค่ะกันเน่มินุงดานี่การินสันมีหมออีคัตินอินวุ่นตีดิกะคีเกมาเลเกมาคีกรักทานเอาดีเซลากระสวลเราดึงคิดเกมอะไรเกมมาค่ะกระ question โอ้บอยไปให้มีกระตัวมีให้นั่งมาอินฟิลมีให้กระตัวง่ายๆมีสิหมอยังมีรองอ่ะฮิตินเฮียซี and then คำมีหลายจ้องมังอินอันจ้องมีมังอินค่ะกระรวดออกซีลองกระไกกระเทดึงงี้ไปบุตรลองกระไกโซนซีอินไฮเออร์ดึงยังตินซีที่มีเวกละมินหมอเลยลงทุนดันละมินค่ะยังตินซีเกมอะไรเกมมาค่ะกระ take care ออกดึงอินคำแต่ยังตินซีกระเสดึงที่เวกันค่ะกระรวดติกาค่ะ my faith of what I am doing now was wavering. Kimo malte kadai thang katipe chu mo like it was like when the disciples were in the ship, you know. An tin pang vek in karak tin pang lok. Chun chumi long silo kami te hua kan financial lam ka kan rakhar sa zat katipe chu mo student loan ka chu boy pa zara kha kanule ka parong kha tampi chu kalak lo ikalak mi ta ka kapek zau ama long te keima ki last sophomore year ka student debt ka more than 5,000 ka karak nai chumi ronga ka next semester shanga karak register thailo they had me go home because I couldn't register early enough so they were like you know bilin na pek shilo register len na to thai shilo ronga ka you have to take all your stuff belongings and go so that was I remember it was winter break and literally on my way home I cried out to the Lord and I was like boy pa himi din muntiang in thlengtar zawi like nang mani khi molin phautar ding mo you know like are you yang katadang I was like boy pa you've taken me this far like he look ยังกระตัง halfway row ริคีนังมานี่ช่วยเจ้านั้น like เทสวกเทเราดึงอิน like ยังกระตังมีไม่อะมอลพออินเสียงดึงมาสิดินข้าปะเทียนข้ากระสุด
wow
yeah it was a lot it's like you know like to really bring up to my parents about that was also another thing because kami like can rock struggle tok mo farm lam class se kan rock talk peks te ka kha kanu la ka pat la ka ma song zat ke ma lam in le na le katwan lo mo part time katwan mi sun te le every weekend kom le in kom nak le long in ka vat long sa nak ding sang te long mo like literally I was making $200 within my 2 weeks pay yeah so that's si man long ki katin se ka kha ke ma le ke ma tu karwat sal te ka ki I like that question it really matured my faith in God and like the process of trusting where God was leading me karun zau sal te ka ki tui ka din hun pathian ka zoom ka ti mi le pathian changi ka ton ka ti mi ki that really shaped me and like katlong kai na ki ka Bible tlong kai ka zirmi na kan himi life experience pakhate or tampi laga himi pakhat main bi ki yang ka dang it really shaped my life more like pathian ni kut chak ngak thiam to ka si hi tu tiang hi like real life experience when I am about to come about something another difficulty I'm always reminded me back that wow pathianin khatin alo umpi zau si are you not going to you know look back and like yeah pathian kut chak ngak ki pathian ni he delivered me more that was my testimony that is my testimony so going back with the story khatin astika kha it was literally 1 week before going back kanula ka bakasim and thankfully they were able to pay it and then on top of that scholarship ka nga min ka kamino ni ka hey if there's any way that I can help you kalau bom trading sun umasile mo in rak so to bom ki in di lo in masong la o in ti ka situation kasim te ka kha never in a million years did I imagine but kasim te ka kha o simo sila chu next semester sang na the tiang kha kema in kalau take care sak dang na tuition he kema in kalau down kalau lak something at these more and I literally like at that time patianin Lazarus athot their sal thuka he had put in my heart
I
way before
had that thought in my head and you brought that up
yeah
that is so
way
crazy.
Before because I remember I was in outside Bible kakaraksier it was like 10 something came then ki kachin anuam lo I wasn't at peace so came then kan lenga kasok it was fall that time and I remember it because I was cold kavafe came then kasier kami Lazarus thuka kasier and the song 4 days late you know when all hope is lost that part kachin nung kirak tham tukso but at the time I didn't know because it wasn't you know fall break yet or winter break aratlang shi lo mo fall shonga asi so I was like why kami lahat la karak ngai re raw I realized when I come about in this situation I was like wow the thing that God put in my heart pathian thu ka songa arak nung chiami kha himi ronga si hi tin kha karak fiang tukti at that point 1 week asithlang mo to go back to school all hope was lost I was like God there is no way like minung sinak ding in chu achang thainon lo thonga nga chu yang tin si vuk vele khada kan pek thai ding
thong khat man har chu
oe chu rot ola thonga le something more chu we kha like ve khada vuk yang tin si kan pek ding ti ta chu ke ma lamin chu ka give up ka surrender already I surrender because I know I have 0 penny in my bank account even if I had 200 500 let's say at the most it's still not going to fix the problem right so chutin steka kha pachianin kanula kapa mangin le scholarship recipient Lee Irwin mangin kha kanuna ka pachianin akutsak in lang tar kata pejo and that's when I really knew like wow pachianin himi Lazarus ki atitika mo kadu to ronga a hina ka cham shiding ati chumo when you look at it it's like nadu to les of a before he died go you know but he was like no pachianin sun loi nak ding sanga I want other people to know I want other people to know the handiwork of God timiro mindset in sijumo that's how much adu do tokronga kha acham shri ati jumo in the Bible it says adu do tokronga kha arak cham shri ati and that really hit home for me because God loved me enough to the point where I would never ever forget in my life that he was the one who delivered me
and I think that happened to also show you for you to learn how to trust him even more.
Yes, that like I said, tu ni tiang mo that was what almost 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Tu ni tiang ki in my whole life, that is the one thing that I go back to when someone asks me a question like this. And ka senior year at laka chapel laka, they called me a senior interview naka chapel laka speaking in Kanrakawi. I was sharing about this story, and I mean my college years Bible tong kakai naka tampi ka zir swak lo hana himi yang katadang ka testimony ten ki tampi kanun naka kazum nak lamin kasi se inting heter patiani karin sandan de patiani like to wait for God's timing. It really helped me. Like I'm not saying I have it easy now because I went through it once, but every time I go through something like that, God constantly takes me back to that era where it's like I showed up for you all the time. Don't forget, like tu hitin umitaki kay makasunloy na nga. When people are looking at you, when people are reading your story, it is so that they can see my glory. Timika yang katadang, like that's what I hear from it. So I'm comforted by that, so that when other people see it, it's like, wow, like student det la. Okay, I'm gonna go personal in that. Student det kalak mitlaki tong lile zangasi. And by the grace of God, my first year of working, I was able to pay that off,
That's
and
awesome.
so my patyanin kanula kapamangin like in bomb chun kami scholarship ka nga minuin ka like sponsorship ka in pek, and then student that latambi ka na ilaw katin ka patyanin in theater. And I mean kansiya nun la arak simda kansiya pa ni kasete patyan na tronding in Bible tlong kai bet na sidingi nalamzin su atlong law na sading aol law ding yang atile aol la sila jo patyan kan hiltawan ti mo. And that's so true, because when we don't have the downs, we cannot see the ups.
And
that
is so true. And not just now, tu mailam na ke karna khalati harsa nak tampi na tong bet lai
Yeah.
And that's the cost of following Jesus Christ, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be a funny road, like a fun road, right?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be like, oh, it's super chill.
Right. It's not rainbows all the time. Not even all the time. It's more than not, it is not rainbows and butterflies, So
mi tu kami Lazarus tu na vonsim kan kachin long ten kan dong kar khala kan kau thana sar kasar monte ka kami Mary le Martha tu ka kasim jumo. And it's like kay ma kanun na khaling karel reng mi chu knowing how to trust him. To Martha ta kha rola swang a boy jam chawa kan Jisu khal ni kha ro swang la boy la ti lo chu yang so nathin harin le olok song in the umati jumo. It's not about he wasn't complaining. Na ro swan mi kha atul lo atilo atimi asilo amalong
she was focused on the wrong thing. Yeah.
Asilo lo tu ruat kimi arwa mi atam tok kami kan ro mi mai lam cha nei yang tin kan to ding mi yang tin ka chang bai ding mi ti kha pathian kan ren san atul zia kha kami ka chinonga mi toron lang. And you mentioned that, I was like, we're on the same page.
Yeah, so
awesome.
mi tu insult me is in te. I mean, I don't think I've told a lot of people like way down the details.
Yeah.
But really, like with that, it shaped me a lot as who I am.
To follow up with that question, is another question. Nati mi adik tok kan ni kan community dio ka tedeng kan lai meeting ka rel du lao deng mo. Kan community ya ke chun medical school ti vek mo, lao le nursing school, IT lam ti vek, lao le lawyer lam ti vek. We see that as huge, right? We see that as the actual graduations if they graduate. Do Bible tlong kai thon na kai mi na the mi khate. Do you feel any regret?
No, because I feel like with what I have, yang katadang leilong tlun film nak lamin so tampi ka intake loading man sela kazum tunun naka mo, because leilong tlun kan to mi, so it's gonna all perish. Whether you are the greatest lawyer, the greatest doctor, I'm not saying that it's not important, but leilong tlunik til kan to mi este ka aziam ding, right? We cannot take that with us when we go to our forever home. It's wrong tu ka take mi te hi yang katadang poli ti dan taka nun minay nung nundan ka tiyam zaw ati mo nundan ka tiyam zaw malte ka na ya sise tampi ka na ya sise. I mean, totally into ka detail away, but tu kasi dan tok te into sometimes like patyan hina ka tikaw, oh himi did I do wrong? But at the same time himi Bible tlong avakay talawin himi experience pol vatong talaw sila ki kazum tu nundan or tu ka everyday Christian life mo ka nitin rundam na kahin yang katadang I would not be where I am today. Chun kami knowledge malten le ka life experience pathian impact mi para kin mi thana thu thang tha kan vasim te ka or pathian to kan discuss te ka kha tampi in bo more real life experience ka bring back up ding and not just oh bible ni chutin ati but nanun nak tak ka pathian in alo tong tham lawa sile so kan sim mi pol ta kha yang ka dang anung law more it cannot people cannot relate to it especially if you haven't been through it more kan sim mi le kan real mi kha anung ding zatin kha anung law ka te pai so no to sum it up I do not regret it because คราวละมาค่ะกระทังโซค่ะกำหัวออกเกมอะไรเกมคราวละมีกระทังโซออกเสียค่ะกำหัวออกแต่ก็ I wouldn't trade it
and so toวันเรียบเรียบว่าจนเขามีใบบทลงนักกายมีคตินั่นนู่นแหละป้าจนนั้นเรา support เจติข้าหลังเต้จะมีเราแต่ร้อยปีเกี่ยงกับเป็นแต่เรา support เจตุที่แบกแต่นั่นไหนมั้ง like hey I know you're struggling but เรา push เราตัวกายก็ว่านาเทดึงที่แบกกันเราที่ตัวนั่นไหนมั้ง
I think karwat bi laka chu maybe no because at that point kan zaten kan na hak daw lai khavyak lamin inti cham lo tla kha an coding more like an chin long ten kha inti tu tla kha coding man na ma long te o swak rawin so khatin na kai mi khan te chatok no but kan pastor and a few of our church members more to name a few like nufumoy or something like that I know nufumoy na rak za wasile kha tunitiang mo ka ji sin ke ring ring te kha ka lo thai tar do malte like paisa khatam pi salo nan kha mo na gas mante tu zar chu na gas mante ti ten kha in pe ki kha tha kha cham sak theu ve ke ma tok ten mo tu ni teng tla hi ka mang chun kan sia pa ni kha se kan sia pa ni kha se you know like have done is not good in ring ring in reminding ring amat la kha bible tong akai lai ti vek at la mo he wanted to give up and itu nu le fa ne za wasite ka mo he was like 40 something years when he went to bible school so he had a lot more struggles but you know kay ma itok ten pachani in survey te ka at that point I really did want to give up because I was questioning like hitting in embarrassing must you have done like literally what am I going to do with this divek and got a question but like the bible said when all hope is gone pachani kan ma minung sinak le ro sanak pol acham thlu nuwa kha pachani kut chakha alang so that we have no say and be like oh it was me divek kha non lo chmo totally non lo it's total like a deprived lo and then it's like pathian hena credit pekding lo bak chu zo man non lo ngai chu mo so in a sense kan ko shana kin pathianin mangmi te chu e ke mai role be personal laga chun kha tong khati zat in kha an tong thiam lo ding long kha asimeni mo thlain cham sak ning chu kha karing ka
khami lai chu an mo ve lo cuz nang ma ta nak naw hak ve te ka ti nang ma kha se no role people kha se all of you guys are learning to grow yang ka te keทางเสานักปีลองสิเราอามินุ่งเร่งคาเลสินค่ะทางเสาขนันเจอพาได้เราอาชีพที่ขาเข็นนั่นหมดเราto like even me ก็ใกล้เรามีตรงที่อามาลนาสาเตนั่งรักกันหนาวเสียอินเทอร์เน็ตจะกบเดียคาเลนอินเทอร์เน็ตUS ก็เข็นนูตรงไม่สบิกกระกายมีค่ะคอมพิวเตอร์โปรแกรมกระกาย semester ประคัดกระเทอีกไปเราก็เตจุเลย aviation ก็แข่งก็ไปเราก็เตsemester สุดก็ให้กายเทสมมติประคัดโนประคัดจะได้คน criminal justice มันก็กายได้
I remember that
โอ้ยก็ไปเราก็ตีก็โจลสาลI ยังก็จะแก่ I don't know what I want exactly ยังอาจจะเล็กก็รู้รถตกทนที่จะได้คนรถปี support ทุกรักในทุกเราก็จะใช้ตัวกับส่วนเราit's always like ลองเฟี้ยวตีลอง
right
you know but I don't know what to goลองเฟี้ยวอินตีเรื่องมีหมวดในอินตีแต่การที่ไม่เน้นกาแฟเหม็นก็ไทยไปเราร่วงจะได้คนกันหักได้หลายราคาจน lawyer ชีก็ดูก็ตี lawyer ล้ำรักก็จะก็ไปช่วงเราจะได้ Southeastern Baptist คันไว้ขัดกระกาย semester ประคัดจะได้เขามีหลายมันคันsponsor ทุกรักกันไหนเกี่ยมาแปลกตัวเรามั่วอีกก็ไปช่วงเราที่คันกับand it's like I don't know what I want จะได้หนุปีกันไหนเขามีหนุปีกันไหนหนูเขาเรียกกายมีตั้มปีเราจะมีแค่ขัดรักจนหนูปีในทั้งทนยังเป็นสินหนูปีเลยนะฟ้าเลยพอเดินจมหนึ่งที่ทาเล่นาเล่ทาเต้นนาต้วนดูแล้วตรงเล่ทาเต้นนากายดูแล้ว that was always the case with me เคยตกกาแฟกันละ and the beautiful thing with my wife is ยังเวกตรงกับกายกันเลยคือ she's always like in support
ทาโลเปก
yeah and so ข้ามีแต่กับขันไว้ขัดขจูตรงกับหน้ากระต้วนเร่เราเว้ยหน้ากระต้วนมันหน้าขันอัทกขจู ลองกะไก่มองนบีกันในแต่มานาลองกะไก่ขามีกะไก่จังหวะคันสกับเปียนเองคันพระธรรมกับตวนเทลจะเลยสิจงประคตาคันสกับเปียนกับวงเฟค่ะoffice supervisor นู่นนี่ต่อกัน office นานตวนดูโมนเตจะเลยกระเทียมเราที่แบบ office นตวนไกจูสกับเปียนกับตวนเราเลย warehouse ลงกับตวนกันเตกันเราเจอดังซีนเตจะ cool กันเตก็ใช้ application เตก็ fill out เอกเปจะต่อก็สินคันตวนกันเอกลองไก่ขักบางไปนอนเรายังอาจจะเลยประจังมินินประจังปากกับสิเวทั้งแต่กาเตนากระทวนอัตเตอร์เดนกาเตนากระทวนอัตเตอร์จะมีนากระทวนหลายสินคันมิวสิกแค่จะกันหักเตสินกระดูตัวจะที่กะยังคันสิเลมิวสิกลองกับกายซาลเดนกาเตมิวสิกลองกับกายกันนู่นนี่ support เท่าข้าตัวกับคัน Full Sail University กับกายก็ struggle มอ struggle ตัวข้าจะอัปโปป้าตัวกาเตเดนso ข้ามีคันกะเทand ข้ามีข้าต้องก็ไกลเลยเราหลายคันก็ชินลงเงินคันโอเคตู้จูมิวสิกลองกับเทเราสิก็ตู้จูยังสกดูยังสกไกลดึงที่มีก็วนรวดที่กับเห็นก็เทแล้วยังอาจจะก็ชินลงเงินโอเคมิวสิกดีกรีก็ในเจ้านานก็ทั่วไปง่ายๆมีก็เทเราก็เทจะได้คนขั้นที่ขั้นก็อมเดี๋ยวเราขั้นออฟฟิศคันpediatric สิที่กับเทดราม่าตั้มเสร็จมีปาดอาจจะเกี่ยมาลองเสียไม่นงสมรุกไลน์หากันตัวนี้จะได้คนที่คัน leadership แล้วไม่สินin pressure ด้านเลยอัน leadership อันเทียมเราด้านก็วนหมู่ทั้งที่กับผลจุ่มกับผลนี่ดรประคันเนี่ยนะคันกับผลดรประคันคันผลตู้เชลาเวนคันค่ะนั่งมาอินโทรยตู้เสียอะไรแต่มาจากส่วนเราโมเอนเตเขามีเวทน what ก็ที่ wait I can be a leader too I never thought about it จะเลยโอเคก็ที่คัน I took for the opportunity ฮิมีจิระเทจะกระซิรอะไรน่ากะก็สวกดึงกติมันสวกละ promotion กันเราไปดึงเงินทีมเปย์จุ่ม and so ข้าตอกเวทสิ maybe this is something what God is calling me for จะได้ข้าตอก position ในสิ่งคันประเทศทุตละตั้มปีกับเกียงในตัวที่เล็กปวดละก็ซิมone thing that I never forget ประคัด lesbian นู่ทนกันตัวต่างมั่วอามาขัลขนมปีในเสอามาขัลหนูหนาวมั่วกันตัวต่างนี้ตินเห็นกับเกียงอ่ะต่อยประเทศทุกกับซิมหนึ่งเท่าand the thing that she said was Christian หมดละก็จนดังตักซีนเตในประเทศทุกที่ดันอิซิมในเรานั้นอีเกเรา like อีพุ่นแล้ว you don't tell me like you're going to hell นั้นนี่ตินเต้นนั่นนู่นนั่นเต้นมูอิซิมในเรามีอินติ and then that's when I realized that wait I could be useful for something
that's true because kami akamal te kalau jolta dingi kitla Bible long ka kai pek or even before pathian na troning ki biakin long a ki kan ro thau chumo ama long te when we look back at Matthew's the Great Commission go therefore and make disciples of all nations zum tu mo heni pathiani to pek asi chumo not just the disciples because can you imagine just the 12 disciples have to minung leilung tlon mo siko chumi ronga kha it was during and after my Bible college that wow wherever nakatonaki it's ministry field it's not just in church aso yang kadang by the grace of God Pastor Paul ni anna si mo ti so like kami biak in sung and then biak in aso zum tu long deu kan si mo ti so like at least you've known and heard piang thar ngai na silo mana but kan na tona ka zawa sile so zum lo tu mi pol thon long si mo like 98% of the time tumironga us as an individual Christian and being born again young can to be and how much more do we need to be knowledgeable in the word of God and have the divine wisdom from God in order for us to share kanun nakin lang ding tiang mo kami kay young si atupi ti ka karak tiang
atupi tokเราเรียมาเลยคัดคันก็วันเบียกโนสินคันที่ like กระต้องมีเคียงไงจะเลยอามาเราเรียที่ไม่ใช่ละกันหาคิน experience ตั้มปีไหนemergency department ที่เวกลาคินnurse tech ละคุมเรียบรักตัวตุกเฮเซนั่นคัดที่ promotion position of available แต่การที่อามามันนี่ค่ะ Joseph นี่นะผู้อินติโจอาจจะจุกยังอัดลงยังมันเถเราโมยังมันเถเรามีเนี่ยโอเคก็ติดกันละเมนข้าต้องโน้สินคันall leadership แล้วมีก็ใช้วันซาสีก็ติคินตัวหลักให้ business ตรงกับใครโมตัวหลัก MBA กับใครเรา concentration in healthcare ละมายังอาทิเลย community ka serve the mi cho healthcare la masisi kati music la ka tu are ro ka kan now ja kop le pol ton ti ve kalen mo e ama long te ti ve kan God calling it nang ka chon na now hak te lai shin kin like na thei na dream ka ti na fe would voi but for me it took me forever
yeah
no pi
like
ka
a
nei
trial
nu
and
ka
error
fa
yeah
ka fa kum sri nei nu kum sri a si nu lam pi long a si chamo tlong tla ke ma ka du na ka ti tha tin ka kai sal mi ka khiro sal mi chona nang ta chon very cool though very cool
no
and
I mean I totally understand because
yeah
tu tiang tla ki sometimes ki question or go ama long te one thing without a doubt ka thai mi so like Bible long ka kai hi tharau lama mo in thang sauter pachianin ki
Yeah.
like a ko na ko ki fyang da in theater chulong man sila win I mean like hopefully in the future more like in sung sang nei vivo kan siding ta ka yang ka dang nu le pa din munin ka rod ok ta ka fa le kan nei ta ka cho nu le pai dawon a si chu mo fa le ka pachian hena theng thading in so kan ma nu le pa mani pachian tu lu la kan thelo le jin kan fa le chu kan roi thading mo chu vek teng en kha tui ka thai mi hi bia kan na yang ka dang pastor or hi tv ka mi cham chau kha ka be sei chu si chong lo ama long te like in my workforce wherever I go karwal pi le la kala se I want to be that the positive influence of tian tula min kai roi ok tu mo or in my family more like in sung sang nuding in kasise or as a sister or as a daughter but tian tula min like at least be that one person to be having that view of how would God want us or pachianin yang tin si timi pachiani mu nak lam zong in ka hlir thiam tu ka si ding ka keima le keima sanga ka du sako so I know what you mean in career wise you know like ki okay himi akamal te ka vat fe sa ding mo Bible long ka te ka ka vat te people are like now what you know what I'm saying like mi po long
I don't blame you
yeah like
me too music long ka te ve ten ka like now
yang
what
si oe game la ka question no go oh boy ka laki now what more
Yeah.
boy laki zo post jam chau tla him like va tuan nga ngai lo chun kha ki minung sinak lam kha karak pushong ok te pe jo mo it's like
yeah
oh and then people keep asking me oh tu te yang son na to thang and then oh yang mi degree san na lak ti si mi ka tuan mi thon le kha an mi la lo ti vek rong en si le kha
Same.
ka pushong oh jo mo I'm like oh wow yeah tin ki
but
and
the
then
thing is I shouldn't even have to feel that way
Exactly.
I do it for me I don't do it for y'all
Oe but ka ti do son mi chu kha minung da la min clear asile chu it doesn't make sense but chen ni rem ro dan chu can figure out tum le chu anga lo chu mo even if we do it try to figure it out and if we crack the code but chen ni si na kha asin non lo chu mo God is mysterious and he stays that way and then when the time comes we look back and it's like there it was
See.
that's the puzzle ti vek en kha cuz if we knew what all God was doing at that very moment in our life I don't think we would have yang kadang pachian ka kan rin ding za din ka kan rin san ngam lo ding mo
Yeah.
he would have been like you of little faith you know what I'm saying so in a sense of like career wise tu ni tiang ka chu sometimes ka su talk like kami katimi hi you know like did I waste my FAFSA year because I mean if you guys know after you done used 4 like bachelor na nga no in so financial aid lam kasi se na nga non lo mo bum nag even though it's not a lot it still help out mo
Yeah.
kami nga non lo tika ka like another bachelor degree lak salin ka ahar tok lang more especially in our day and age
we'll have to hit community college in
Exactly.
state tuitions
yeah exactly
Tul lang
tumirong aki kasuda ko but for the long term in my life I think that God has led me the way he wanted to lead me excuse me it might not be the way I intended and I know like right before this podcast I was so funny I was talking about Moses and how pachian in Moses ago alhana mo he was in the wilderness media na kumsom li sung kha tukhala chumo look at it
see,
he was
see.
a prince siang pasang din huna chutukal can you imagine that can you, right exactly
I won't even know how to cook
exactly and kamilaya chutukal ki like yang kadang din hun niam big tech si chumo so for him to go from siang pasang din hun to tukal din hun it's not easy and top of that 40 years he's probably questioning his whole life yang mi rong hitin din huna katleng ding me if I were to have lived in a shepherd position why did you make me be raised in a kingdom like yang katadang royalty family yang mirong asyang parang din huna ka in red just for me to go back down thinking maybe Bible ni just tilaw nan mo kay ma position ka red okay maybe he would question like yang mirong mo to kind of see God's perspective and God's providence through his life and like I said 40 years is not short mo are tok chumi nu long ka asi nak pon mo ka yang katadang ajem nuwa all of his royaltiness katabejo like mo asyang parang sinang mo ajem nuwa tang tabik den at sal daga tok sal daga ka pachianin finally he called Moses ama mi pun bo ka run suak daga mo and ama le ma man katiok si tong tiam lo tong hakasi boy pa no but God was like yes alo bom tu tinga kana now Aaron la ka karakret sia zao ati mo so yang katadang it's crazy I know Moses at the time when Moses was being called by God he said no Ael because he looked at himself but where God provides or where God calls you he provides more so yang katadang kan ma minung ro nak lamin ka kan think too deep like how we fall in but we have to trust that God has better plan for us
Man, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So kami avon tractor sa tivekla. Sometimes we have to realize where we come from before like we act up, right? To currently headway to me behavioral health kind of like virtual or on site kami company akan supervisor katwan de rawe ka. I had kan manager no thon kan meeting kan nei team thar ka in pe chumo minong priet team thar in pe kan manager no ni yang tin sin ti sele hemi minong priet ka khil mi nang mai rang rauri ka khil mi sin ti I didn't understand that
right
meeting kan nei team meeting kan nei everybody like unquiet dan so like kan zaten in na kan tron te ka te camera chuk an me khim bo the na an tong du lao chumo like introvert orient situation zaten to one on one ka kar din kan nei like really get to know them chule arai na ka yang mi si ka thai te le an zaten kin an feeling a soft dan chumak verbiage dan mana biak dan mana ka chumi na to mi thalau te slawen khan kha mi tu na to mi kha zo at athadan de ongklau mu deng ti biak de tong khe tul chu karak struggles at mai sabik thakhat khan hi kha chu te thathum nak rong kha chun ka thei thiam tok thlange tu tla khe chu the high performer an chang thlo chu kan company a chu kan tu ni raw ria kan manager no thang kan meeting yang si enti tele so remember what I told you enti nang mai thang iklau thil sak mi po te mi kha minung thin sao je tul mi po long sik lau thil sak enti and I was like me thin sao
in the same room
I was like that's not me and then she's like you have no idea how patient you are enti and then karuat sal te ka te mak dan chu korak patient tak ngai chu mi po pa January December sin manual tracking to me zendes kan mangeka manual tracking to me kan zeri tu tiang thiam lau mi lo long su in kwat achu mi kha thin sao takin ka ti thei vi vo kha ka von rot
and then they became high performers
ka von rot khanga are
yeah that's not even half a year like well almost but
mi kha chu kar thumin thiam chu khanga ro ri rei chu yang kan nong kha chu mal te so ka thena sao nan ka toy ka te dang team meeting kan nei you should know this by now if you were a baby you should know how to walk
in 5 months okay
Di so kan ti vekin pathianin in ko du nak te ti vek kha te kai ma man ki if I didn't know where they're coming from I wouldn't be the best leader that I would be to if I had everything kana hak te sin ti tlong kain karak kai mi mo kharak the in jang kim kha degree nei thun har sanak ti mi rak thei lo bang ta sala khoi to ka si an din nak te kha ka thei lo dang chura ka judge jam chau men ning mo like I will be so robot like metric na mit lo ka tin ka tua thang ning so nan to so it take me 5 months for them to perform the highest in the team 5 months
but it's there yeah
so anyway to kind of go back ask your questions klong kai te na pe bet tum mo yang tin si what is your head is going toward for the future
yeah this is exactly where I am stuck at yang katadang it's yeah. So a
producer
little
อารมณ์กิมแล้วตัวมาแต่นั้นเบงจิม
right now ก็ดินหุ่นเฮsim real put selate like I said I feel like I always get caught up in what I think and what I want to do in this moment in that moment but chani in rem rot sakdan jo kha for the long term for like my lifetime the long span ka te pe jo mo kami astika kha but chani rem rot dan ki kamu chiam lo vek a ki a chang theu yang ati le ke karot nak so himi or maybe like 5 years from now 10 years so ala tok daw mo katingam lo 5 years at the most kami hi yang si ka to ding ti mi vek pol khimo karwat so like Dubai te aka real estate ka the mo so right now I'm licensed real estate agent in North Carolina and patianin remin rot sak asile so I mean remin rot sak zau ko yang adile I mean if you guys have ever heard anything about real estate they always say that real estate school is hard and
they said that to every school
well this for me honestly speaking this real estate school was harder than my whole 3.5 years of Bible college. The reason being because it's so fast paced. More a fast paced like the class literally was 1 month and it's supposed to be a dang long kizo 75 hours long as mo but kani jo ka in extend sa kan sia pa ni so it was like a little bit over 100 hours. So within the time span of like a month. To me pon man ka literally kami ka zerlaya I lived, eat and breathe real estate.
Wow.
So I had constantly the moment I wake up
Real
a
estate.
video. Yeah, a video ka ngai. Okay? And then kasi I find myself doing the little quizzes to practice more. Like I've never dedicated my life within that 1 month. I mean a little bit more than 1 month, of course, right? To have accomplished something. And oh my gosh, get depressed in a sense of like sometimes I take like a 30-minute nap and then class 6 p.m. to 9:45. Okay? Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. 3 days out of the week, that was my routine. And then the 2 days that we were not in school, I was studying for the same time. So constantly in my room, kisiko, like I had no life. And that was hard for me because yang katadang yang kami long ka focus tika mo it was so hard but I prayed to God. I was like boy pa nang mani himi so lang mani lamin shoy mi asile jo ka hard work akin nang mani tlaso nang in pe ko tin ka patyan na tla ka cham ring and by the grace of God I was able to pass the test with one try.
Wow.
And
okay.
like people were really impressed because they were like what. And then like kami video kangay mi kan siya pa video kangay mi pola ka they were like oh this is my 3rd time, this is my 5th time, this is my 6th time, this is my 8th time taking the test. Auntie Zunki, I was so scared. I was like if I were to fail that, I don't think I would do it again. I don't think I would have the confidence to go back and redo the whole thing.
But see, most of the time I think with real estate people go in there with a set of mind like I want this.
Yeah.
People don't really go to real estate but like, oh, this is for fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was determined. I was determined. I was like, okay, hire young fluency, hire thing, and more. But I was playing with fire.
and like for someone to say this is my 6th time, you can tell the dedication. Like,
yes.
I'm gonna do this until I pass.
Yeah, kami kitsu, I didn't have that kind of dedication. I was like, if I don't pass, katuan man loading. But yeah, so yang katadang, when I look back, I was like, that was you, God. You know, when I passed that test, like commitly at Puerto Rico, I was like, God, that was you because I was praying to you so much, and you know that I was like, if I pass this test, and then on that testing site, I went to Winston-Salem to go test it. I was like, boy pa, nang mani testing pass that was my last prayer, and by the grace of God, like I said, I passed. But duit laki, I'm like confused because aduhi teacher kasi nak full time katuan lai mo and patien sang fa nak in ke kasin pi katape mo kanatuan na kasi my first year in this particular school and everybody yang katadang klun lami boss pol ni ke they were like wow nule papo kasi say wow amaktok like na ki like you make a big difference di ki katairing ring more. But in a sense like patyanin ki in humble tell using my coworkers and my managers. God humble me. God humble me.
Hit me in the head.
Yes. So that I don't get carried away. But like I said, kimi to he tiviak lamin kasi se ti like I kind of still question God boy but himin to mi da yang tin like to he hitin sa zawi still not I'm constantly not questioning but like yang katadang every time I worry I'm reminded that let me read.
Yeah.
Let me read.
She's been preparing for this.
Wait. That's so funny because this week, I said, boy pa, nang ma-intraw chang lim film nak in pego so that I can make a decision. More, not just in my life with career,
Everything.
but whether it be love life, if that exists, like church lam, anything.
Yeah.
Anything patien nang ma-will, nang ma-do nak hi, shil tiam ding in film nak in pego tahi katlatamasi. And then, so because I'm so worried, whatever, this week, go Bible kakawi, this is what it says. Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. Okay, everyone? Because of your little faith, that's what I read. Because of your little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. The first thing I read was, because of your little faith. I was like, ouch, God. Kakawi, himihisya kasir. My daily Bible reading was from 1 Corinthians. Kami kasir, no, I was like, boy pa, like, I need something to intake. Kakao sali, kami kasir. You of little faith, because of your little faith, na zumnak amalruanga. When disciple po ka boa mo, kasir le dilet ataw tika ka Jisuso in the back, he was asleep. They forgot that Jesus, the man who is in control of everything, they done forgot that he was in the back.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh, like, are you not concerned that we're all going to die? And I was like, that is me. How dare I say, oh, these disciples, katin anti, that is me. Especially like this couple of weeks, I've just been like wavering more. Because of my question about what is next? What is next? Dimi aki ka worry toki tui kat now akin patiani kut songa ki karet lozia kang hadok lozia ki inhu fiang.
Wow.
So that's
a good read though. Kandong Sunday kan koma kan now pa Austin kan ka Bible ka kawi chule ka highlight me today ka zawi. One things that he kind of saw amu mi kachu. But nan deal teka nan nga lo yang atele nan chin long atala. And I was like, this is why kan nga lo. And then he was like, what have you? Kasya de ati zaka zoke in katen le kasya de gate kami bong tang kasya tho de ati veken. Kay ma kanun nakala waitam pi kate mitui na real mi thau vekan. Kadu na ka draft e tele.
And you invite God in.
Read this, it's like I can do back in Kuno, right?
Yeah.
And that never works. And it's rather kabekin ka umrero wrong ashe kakum
you done waste all this time.
Kakum kulhon di pinulong akan ke like I was able to accomplish something. And to the viewers like do not long I me kalaka. It may not be what your parents' dream for. It may not be what the community want you to be. But no matter what kind of school you goes, it's still accomplishment. Tu kachu hiring manager ti vekton kan ka position kan ka vong sidaw ti ka interview ti ka kanay rang tel. Ka kut ti sin mi ka hire mi him minung som thum lay lawan tang. Ka team member pa kanin so mi tu ziyang vek minung so na zaw intile degree ne mo na law na zaw inti. Degree na mi ka zaw but at the same time like young me degree na ti mi ka zaw law. I look into more of like wow, this person literally commitment of a 4 years degree like kumli raw rika ni tinavong ka. I mean that's a huge commitment.
Yeah.
I don't look at like what degree you have. I rather look at did you accomplish it? And if it's not, then you better tell me why.
Right.
Because if it's just like, oh, ka lazy ka pai lao ti chun,
Then you're
what
not going to
make
be
you think-
successful at
yeah,
work.
like what make you think I'm gonna hire you? Like you're just gonna give up half the training.
Yep.
You'll be like, this make no sense to me.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So
And-
no matter what school you go, like young mi suna study,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be medicine. It doesn't have to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
If you're that awesome for you, happy
Mm-hmm.
for you. But whoever going for anything, you do you.
Yeah.
Don't do it for someone else. Do it
That's
for you.
true. And like one thing ka zirsuak mi pakatso, no matter what, like you said, yang min hatuan asiya mo. But kan nunak in midang hena ka, kan nunak mangrorin ka, tutang trava simte ka. I think
Same.
mamobik. Because whether you are preaching up there or not, in the workplace, adang pinasilejo ka is still we're
useless.
hypocrites.
No.
Yeah, we're hypocrites. So, yang katadang one other Bible verse kasiyardo mito ka, one thing that I have taken from my life,
Yeah.
kanun naki ka kang kainget mito rom bung riat azaten, but I'm gonna read just a little bit. Mirangin 25 in kam kasiyar talking mo himi ka like kanun naki tua kasi say it's constantly God working in me mo in nun simring ring to kasi wrong mo rom bung riat changkol hon nga nakin kasiyar nang. But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. I'm gonna read it again because I need to
too.
hear that again. But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Okay.
Okay.
And then likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Tlakan jam kan tiam lo mana mo trao cheng limin ka kan nun na kan sung murali ummi ka patien hena ka in puang lang sak ati mo. I mean, that was me this whole week. Like I was so deprived to the point where it's like, what do I ask? Like, what do I pray for? But kan te lo laya trao cheng lim kan sunga anong sila, so we have someone who intercedes for us. We have someone who is able to all of our deep thoughts mo kan chinongi ummi mo makapatien hena intlen sakto kan nai, and then kan servio sila to and he who searches the heart knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. According to the will of God, patien ni dudan vek and mo God's aluro vek and not our will, but His will.
Yeah.
And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for the good. For those who are called according to His purpose, for those whom He foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed into the image of His Son, in order that He might be the firstborn among many brothers. The one thing that I always overlooked was always just this. All things work together for the good. Timi munte long ki ka highlight. Yeah. Kami te long ki ka highlight tell. But if you look back at the beginning, it's for those who love God. For those who love God. If you don't love God, not all things are gonna come for the good. So we can't expect our life and everything to come together for the good if we don't love God first.
Is true, though.
And then going back to the seek first the kingdom of God. But yani aram le afel na hol mai sa wala yang tin ka pek bet na sitting at these. It's so, like I said, when I read this, it was like, oh, work together for the good. Titen ki kalak men to mo. So it wasn't long where I was like, wow, for those who love God.
Yeah.
Mo. And then the predestined, but yani in them me to be conformed in the image of His Son, so that He, Christ, may be the firstborn of all. So, but yani in tumta sak mi so ama fapa kri bang dingin ka indu sak vivo mi si so. And if you cannot see that in your life in a sense of like kri lungput na nelo or kri ziazan na nelo vivo, then it's like,
I agree. And that is, I think, also one of the other part is Jisu kaminung veklorin zaza rin arong naksan tlati. Like He has proven that this is possible. Ama vekin control ding mi ti mi ka approve mi si vera ri ti kinki. I take that in my heart like all the time. Zurong kalaki, I may not be able to help people, but I'm gonna try everything I can to do that. Of course, I also believe myself that you can't some people are not for you to change
yeah
it's not your destiny to change this individual like you kami katuke makalan kazumazet ka so that way I don't drain myself
but
out
yes but at the same time I also believe that like your time with each other you know what I'm saying like not everyone is gonna stay in your life you know what I'm saying but with that encounterment like every time they think of you they should be thinking of oh they really showed me Jesus more kamiki like that's my intake you know like
That's
I want that
I had someone that said you know every time they played that song it reminded me of you I was like I was like delete that from your head
yeah so I mean this mitui ka quote back in ka to for those who love God and it constantly reminds me back mitu prayer lanati sometimes why aren't our prayers being answered is because kan ma in plan kan sway God di kan invite mo
kan long put cut to I talk to my sons all the time ka fa pat la ke ka ti tell me so boy pan hina tha kan jam neng he's only 7 so kum serious si vetika atin long ke clear tok te boy pan hen tha kan jam neng te he thought like boy pa but tien ki me long pan hiya it's like boy papa yang raso bible in boy pa ti to but tien ti to jesus ti to and I was like they're all the same ti ve kan ka fa pan hen kala ka ti tell me so but tien hen ina deal ding a sile omang me deal ka te don't ask for like example me Lamborghini my dream cars right tu patien na dilin patien in pe bang ta sila I'm gonna have to sleep in that car a gas man rang mo oil change man a tire man insurance man ka pe thai lao deng in zuari ka mi sungi ka omatul deng so it's like kan deal khala kan mai rangi a om ang me or himi hiti I'm not saying like don't have faith in things but those come like amaten nom de tenarave to kimi khate ke ma kharin se ka fa panen khala se boy pan hen na di le to vek in na di den kate so like he's in first grade boy pan hen na cha thiam thena di lo ama long te master degree dealing in deal la you know cuz he's so huge into school
yeah
and today ama khale upa khale kha like engineer ka tuan ding ati chama I was like good for you do whatever you want I'm like whatever you want to do kin yeah it's like it's important to like ask what is fit for me right now cái là cho in tùm pi cái điều ngâm là cho I'm lazy with cleaning cái nụ ma long này clean thủ bên đưa lại cho giảm phát tiêu
and then là cả kha rồi mà lâu nãy cả sốc bằng thế
so it's like
God knew that's why he gave you a small house
yeah but you know what I'm starting to think we were talking kan upa tu nu kum re deu cho in tum deu kan nei ding kan ti
hey I'm here
guess what yes guess what robot te ne clean thủ thế lo so cho na kan nu ni in man na clean tu la tum pi le tu la te le don't worry Amazon a page
no but mi tu tla cham dan na ti kha my perspective this year is not to pray for what I want but to have the wisdom to pray for what God wants me
to do
kamika
that is
oh my gosh it's so hard because you know Satan pad la kan do mi ka thai ve chumo this like he knows how to tempt us in a way that's going to be so hard for us and it's like patian mo kay mai do me you know God or what I want so in a sense like my life in 2024 to sum it up would be to know how to pray for the will of God
that is awesome and the way kan podcast kan tua nu ti ve khar khati ke ma lam class ka kraw lam khalen se ka thang sau na sa koram lam khalesin kum nei ni in ka piang thar samanu engi pathian thu simna kan ka piang thar chomo ka pian thar no kha pathian thu ka thai ve tan khan dai ten ka thiam lao ka wa ki mi in po sang ka wa king pathian thu ka sim sam mi isin mun lai lam ten ka wa thleng chu pathian thu sim ken that's crazy and I was only 12ที่เวียกินคันจะเลยมาเลเซียกัดแข่งในสินคันที่คันคอมนนเรากำลังอาการนมเด็กอาเตคอมนักที่เวียกันเฟียคันเลยคือประเทศทูตกินกับนนเรา not to blame anyone to myself ยังอาจจะเลย Bible ข้าก็เชียร์ดูนนเราสารบนนักจะบูกับ Bible แล้วเขาจะเก่าตั้มเลยกับมัดชาดันจะฮิตเตี้ยเสียมีสาธุเทียวละ จู่ๆกับ Bible เคยตกกับที่เขากระเทยเราเขามี Bible จู่กับ sermon จะบูBible study กับตัวนักจะบูเทครักกระเรนักกระเทยเรา and it's so like เลยลงครูนี่นมนักกับนัวหมดเลยตัวอย่างที่ freedom ตัวนี้กันนักถึงกระในเราแต่ก็ที่ข้างหน้าไปเต้นมันดันกระเทียมเรา and ตัวที่มี podcast ที่กันตัวนู้นราคาจน Bible ลองกับเจ้าสาทางจมูกตัวที่ master degree MBA ก็ไกลเลยเราผ่านนู้นเขาเล่น Bible ลองกับไกล bachelor กับไกลสาว and I call you and I told you and จะก็ปลักกับ call เขา and my thing is by US ลองงั้นเขาจะกันที่เวก registration กันตัวหลัง info interview ตัวได้จมูก to make sure that we're a good fit when I was being interviewed ยังมีสิ่งที่เลย I want to learn the Bible for me because I felt like my faith has become fading out slowly to the point where when I'm hearing like midang ni chutin antile I feel that bias like oh yeah you're right but then when someone else say another
oh yeah
thing,
you're
like,
right
oh yeah you're right
I think that's the biggest
like,
problem
yeah like ka strong lao to and so that's when interview nuk ni na kakatimi to I want to learn the Bible for me turang akan kami nu kani okay so said to dimin di kana hanga atachi adengin now it's like okay kati registration katwa to a class to tlan ka talk then
wow
and so I'm also so glad that I'm around you guys as well yang atile I honestly think if I were still just being myself I wouldn't have that kind of thought and I think it's like a good influence is really hard to influence someone else because a bad habit is so easier to so I would say this is a good virus
wouldn't call it virus
like a good virus that you can catch you know there's a bad virus
itself is a bad
no not really
oh yeah
it could
it's
be
a
good
bad
though
vocabulary
it could be good though
well give me an example
this right now so, and you know I feel like not just myself to kan makan group kan pali kan la in society like the way kan accomplish dan to kan nowจะก็ปลาที่tu suna ka Facebook video ว่ารันตัวครับหมอ it improves so much and I'm just like
wow
okay like wow we're doing it like we may not be like that dreamer like that dream like
but
we may not have
step.
that millions dollar but at least we were not the same like a year ago
kan tang sao vivo
Yeah.
and our biggest intake is that we're also like patien thula maka yang katadeng vukti one night kan tang ji lom hana ka malteten mo
gradually,
like you
like,
said
slowly
with our surroundings
see.
yeah but like yang katadeng it's so important because yang katadeng we as believers and as humans we were not designed to be alone by ourselves mo churang aka fellowship tong komok na kami ka tupi tokmi si chumo especially as zoom to kan tha naw chana in bom tu ding in tong ding sal tu ding pachian thui in hem tu ding kha rol pi kan tool cho
Yep.
right so for us to be able to have a community or a friend group that is that mo
yeah
yang katang that's rare
and
we
honestly,
should be
like,
thankful for that
yeah and the
More
reason
often
why
than
like
not.
when karak na hak dawlaya kan ma le kha thalem lao swal non ve se chumo chate ka Bible tong karak kai pai chem jaw na kha when I was younger kan khwati ve ka ke chun transparently Bible tong kai ti le kha chu nu le pai nun sim the lo le zu ta ma de ken kwat tel khodang chu ka the lo where I grew up okay so that kind of give me a bad vibe you know like Bible tong ke like I feel like it's a last options
it's like military school you know what I'm saying ki tu oi lo tak poli vakwat nak mo khaviak strong
and to ve ke sin kun avong ti ka ke ti like Bible tong mon kai sa len ka ke ka pai tok lo yang ate le at that time I feel guilty ke ma ren ka te yang ka te ke zu ti ka karak in chumo ki vek me nong ka von si te ka Bible tong kai fe ro nga chumi ti in ti ding ka community ni ti ka du ve lo so but now it's like I realize I'm not doing for anybody. I'm doing it for me.
And at tampi zu ki chan le like I said I have people question me all the time like oh kami long na ka tu te yang sin na to you know they think game katlong kai nak la ki like you said pachian thei du na ken sumo ka kai ve mi and I mean pachian in himi katlong kai nak in mang vivo si le jo that's a plus,
and
right?
he will
Yeah, but even if it's not, kanun nakatampi ka zirsuak ve mo, and that's something that education can't buy or money can't buy. So miro nga yang katin mi Bible tlong kain patitaka if we don't see them working in church or kavek in kan slo like oh tlong ka mi so tivek rong ki kan ti
Yeah.
mai chu mo kami ka.
so katinunga umdok de if you were na cha na thiam ronga na film ronga na thiam ronga tin US na thleng ding lau te bang sa sala na thleng kem
Katsu za 100% no.
kami ka self assessment ka to athawite kolam mana ka sala phun rai pi sala vai ru ka pi mana ka ong lau de
Kava onglo. I'm sure that is more difficult than real estate school or law school.
ase kolam ke
And the education system ring and it's like the people that pass kika respect that because
See,
I
me
don't
too,
know
me
honestly
too.
I don't know how that is like and to US but mana mo like literally public school high school onglo mi tampi kan ve chu mo
See.
thungin la and so
จุน่ะประเทศนี้อันนั้นตัวดันเลยประเทศนี้
ramrot dan
อินมังดูดันที่เกมาถึงกระวดเทวคันเลยกันนูนเห็นคลากติเทวกันคอมมูนิตี้กันเก่าท่านเห็นคลากติเทวมีกันเก่าท่านสงอาเห็นเราเลยก็คอมมูนิตี้สงอาเห็นจ้ากับเทียมร้องกับฟิล์มร้องเห็น US กับแข่งที่เจ้าเสละประคัดร้องลงเห็นเด้งจามอประคัดกันมาตักเศร้าคอข้าเวกเล่นมุนกับวันสีเถอะค่ะ US กับแข่งเห็นกังหัลงำเรา so that's why I'm like me my coffee like I don't want to be all that because I'm not ตัวเวกิดินมุนกันสีตัวไว้ขัดค่า family prayer กันในกันจ่าเทนก็อูเลปวดหลักมั่วกันอูเลปวดหลักกันช่วยยังพันเหล่าเต็นกันอินสงสารเข็นเกี่ยขี้กันนัดตัวนัก supervisor ก็สิกันนูเขียนนัดตัวนัก supervisor ก็สิก็อูค่าอันนัดตัวนัก supervisor สิจุเลกันรังมั่วประคัดราคานี้ราคานัดตัวนักกัน leader รักสิเวที่เวกินกันจ่าเต็นกันวนโจกที่ก็กลงกายกันวนโจเลยเจ้ามันเขามีอะไรจะ bachelor มันก็เทที่เราจะมองกันวนโจกแต่ก็ว้าวปัจเจียนเราเสร็จแล้วจะยังมันกันสิวันเราที่มีข้ากันวนเร็วแต่ก็ไม่เคลียร์ตา that was the first time ever มีไม่ก็ไม่เคลียร์ตา and coming from a person กับป้านี่อินตันจุมกับปีนี่อินตันจุมกันนี้กับประเทศนี้อินตันจุมกับทับเราI'm like วันจงเรามาขัดตรงเลยดังสิ I was like so mentally hard like defeat ที่ไม่แค่กระดูเราก็สิ่งตรงนั้นนั่นเขามีตรงกัน family กันวนเตากันวนเร็วแต่ก็ we don't deserve this
oh
yeah that was the first time ever that make my like กระทับที่แต่ก็ bad ทับเสียเรากัน like ประเทศนี้อินจางฟ้าแต่ประเทศนี้อินดูโดดดันเนี่ย heavy position ยัง
right
อินโดนทั้งอินโดน
that's exactly I think with that mindset psalmist Sam angan tuin milahi yang so kasi hitlukin mo na nakar intent mo like exactly so I think it's with that like but yet like when you reflect back exactly what we're doing now and really just looking back at life but yet kan pari at tatna kan mataka what is so special about me that you care for me that you tend me more you know like that's a fair question to ask because but chen changa chu tholung nak manin thatnam nak hi kan nei lo ding chu mo he don't have to care if, you know but the fact that he chose to and he vek din mun tiang e in tlanter tu kan tlang thena ke ama ronga si di mi kan thei you know like can reflect here atupi is at kati because
and
we got to learn how to count the blessings you know
ko ram na mission US กันรักkhate kan nanonin ยังก็จะประเทศเฮลินกัตลาก็จะเกิดจะกัตุ่มเราดีเสียขมีตาที่กระวดสาเรเราประเทศนี้ดูมีเท่าเสียดังที่เกิดมานี่กระวดยังอาจจะได้ก่อรำลำขจุมีตัวเราที่เวกันเลยนี่สินเปียงเท่าเจ้าขมีหน่วยสินคินเกาเบียกอินตีเบียกคินเกาะกันตรงละสักลำมินสิโมประเทศทุสิมนักลำมินสิโมกันวักตัวขนานลำคำปัดลำของบอยเวียงลำปวดหลักที่กันแข่งครู and at that timeมีมากับบักเลยมิสซิปินกับรัวตัว and especially with like ข้าเบกอินโทรติกะกัน dress ตาถ้าเดี๋ยวชั่วโมงมีนาเกินข้าเบกติกะแค่เกี่ยงกับตาถ้าเต้นเจ้าแล้ว like อินติอติง่ายๆเท่มั้งอินติเปียงเท่าง่ายๆอามันเขามี word ค่ะ yeah ติเร่ๆกับBible เสียงมันอะแค่ like inti otir ta kin and tuna US ka thlen hu khale kan karwat sa me chu khami ka pathini du dan jong rak sedau pi kha chu ka ngal thang pan te ti mi khan rong a khan inti tlak tir khala like he
alo
want to
asiang
teach me
yeah
but what ti mi ka in zir tir ta du asi ti kha
yeah
chon kan sia pa ni that kind of drill into my head was to thim bong thum changkul wan sari na ka te midang para acha mi ka to hi acha tin na thai asile to mayo ate and kami rong asi US ka thlen no khala yang man te ka silo khala ti mini in phone nge ozo sep kami in to sak thai ke mo chu min ti sak thai ke mon te ka ti na kan ka to sak ro lao ka and I think you guys kind of see that too like yeah I might not have it but there's credit card you know tu obama chil kan tool manati if I know this is gonna like bring us a
Benefit,
good
yeah.
cause like a good
Nasyang.
yeah to take the vekin can it's like but here in bomb le zo si US tiang in thang ter zo si din hun sang pin pe ve zo si yang asi ka ter fak le ro dang ti mi chin nong ke kan nei mo and I think that's what I like kum lein hi is in kami Bible verse te ka lu ro re in drill te ka te ka ngil thai lo e ke ma den ka ngil kha le kha
kan conversation as how zonan kan na tivek and
yeah
kan na hak lai in the school ka zirmi Bible polin ki like I said with the whole ka college life experience me do testimony ka simzo mi potla kha kanun na ka bachian in kami Bible verse ka memorize mi pot mangin ka kanun na ka na tuan sumo Jeremiah bung tom jang thom ikawala ka lo lading na thelo mi thil khor hale mang mang jak lo simding na humbu khat jang sari mo kati kang hil tum zikte boy pa chu tha har sanak chana benak tabi ka si anena humim nak hol tu chu jang fai him dam nak an nga si ti vek pol chu le khan Psalm 118 mo 18 milairin sanak in boy parin sanak tason lelong boy parin sanak in boy parin sanak tason like I said at that time ka leilong ti sa danin karak rin san mi minong pakat ni yang a him vek tlong na kai why do you major in this major it's not going to benefit you in ti tika chun wow milai karak rin san rong ahi tin hirak si himo tin kakrak fiang mo so yang katadang it's so important yang kana hakte lai pachien izang fa na kin nule pa in kasise pachien thula ma mo in som thei sanes kan kana in kasise Bible verse pachien thu chu pachien thu chu anungi thila ti thei kam ni shem ral nam na kan shem son ti mi ka chu amman bak ase and then the older I get the more I realize pachien tu kan sim tampo pachien Jisu Christ kan rangi into saknak mo athisani cha anak le everything athu kan share tam pawa kin angai tu tlang at kan ma asim tu khal kan at timi kha kamu fiang video so and so like you said you were talking about the Bible verse it was like yeah pachani thu kan thei mal asile cho pachanin kha in biak amal because the word is right here the word is right here teaching rebuking correcting and training in righteousness 2 Timothy 3:16 ngan fek mo so I mean every word here is God's breath and God's breath is alive and is capable so I think yang kadang in my life I'm saying this now but kema shanga katong kakasim ok mi la asi mo He's right here we don't have to be like God
wait for the sign
see God give me a sign tirero laki yang kadang atulo the signs are here and this is for myself and preaching to myself for myself the Bible is the answer it's right here
kan producer thon ta kan te ka Bible study ka ta thson kan te kan ai elo kan zau le ke chu kan te ti be
zau da non lo
even like us ni danga kan chu ti pin Bible study ba ne kan to ding man kan ti lo nan tu chu kha even our vision is now different taimo ka zau le thau dang ne nu le dum thau ti be kan atale to kan share ding semai you know if it's a good book that you can study to learn from then we'll take it avong la to kan zot lang ding
I mean
to pass on that what is your favorite color
my favorite color is green
come on really
no here a really interesting fact well maybe not really interesting kana hakte line up until
So I use
oh my
ESV.
goodness
yes
So I use this ESV.
I have ESV as well
hibi si ka leito
This is by I forgot his name.
oh gosh everyone
Can
go
you
get
not
you a
look at
ESV
that, like,
Bible study
in front of me
อัธรตกหลายนะมังชีแล้ว
oh kamu kid
Elle
put the sticker right
harin mi te pakat
No, no, I started from Matthew, that's why. But that's what I use. It's
ESV
very nice.
yeah
Very nice.
get la ESV hi ka shanga mirang Bible la chumo ka mang changi kha like Bible tlong ka kai hlana kha kum khala before I was like yo Bible tlong ka he mirangin as it clothing phone mirangin like a siar da law ka ti kum khat sung kha hi mi ka siar and until this day like ka siar tok ti nak so nan
I'm not even
you
gonna
know
lie Amazon kara hau ko
Layola.
ka leiding ka ti
It's not wrong to have a different version.
yeah
oh yeah tu ka name mi khachu kha da get man it looks like it's from ancient somewhere so here I'm not even lying at me say
go ahead and do two one for me hey ti
you're richer
like
than me right
like
now
you said if you know that this is going to benefit
I take that back so
but
I added like the Bible study for kid something that I can kind of study with my son and the ESV study Bible so like on CSB he read truth Bible more the back book he like to like edit me say I want to like explore more about him for me because kalau TV kan kante US akan umi trong thiam man tam tok chu tu lai never mind ara tum na to kare yang so me zuran thiam man tam tok
especially
that
with
man in more
prosperity gospel right now
oh yeah tu mirang man kan ti lau man na kan ma kan ko ram rau ri sung man atam tok zau chu
yeah
and it's like yeah I can tell you in my head that to me sitting like omang kalau sim thailing but I want to be able to reference that with the Bible
the word says
Because-
scripture says
oh yeah because
Not he,
this
she
is what
said.
he said right not what I said but what this is what he said the vek de wen kan ke ma ka community class se ka kyang ka pri naw hak pol nen mo ka than nen class se khatin ka ti thai ding ti raw ren kan study sal ka tum so
yeah
yeah
I think that's the best pathian thu chu midang shanga kha hol cham chauding asilo chu for you
yeah
when we eat for ourselves we can't be
Kana-
like oh I'm going to eat for you nga
ka
lo
full ding e ka luang len rak
luang liam exactly yeah to me kasi chu
Yeah.
that's what Jesus intended for us
Yes.
that we would overflow luang liam nun kan nei thena dinga mo
Christian nun kan tleo mo
Exactly.
kan min kan tleo na an mui an rak nun theng nang
yeah to me kasi to be big and especially for the non-believers because kan izum tu chu yang kadang we can at least look at each other's heart but
See.
zum lo tu polin chu kan leng lamin nun dan kan thomadan kan tong dan tiang in kha in zau thlu tika yang kadang
US ta
to
ke chu
measure up to
harbe
that
chu-
yeah to measure up to that I'm definitely not worthy of a model especially kan
Salamat
tong dan kan language and more but yang
kan
kadang
hangai mi shin thok
Yeah.
you know to USS in ra kha chu ki ahar de na kha chu Christian ti mini bad name ki arak nei tam tok
yeah
to jiang vek la sak thiam khalin somehow unmark chu Christian he yang atile kha yang fe nan nei tam nak se chu mo
yeah
yang atile kan ni Christian kha chon kan ngai thiam men chu mo hi chu pathian thai lo rong a si kan ti pathian nin atok ati le chu alang te le men ning kan ti nan kha zum lo tu pol ni khan hi mi hi Christian kha chutin a re la sia lo le tu za wala cross pol an red tin an long te jik vekin da pung tekla an zuki ti vekin min thang tam pinum chu mo tu an min pok ang hit
Lil Nas
khawi pol group ti yak pot la ke von zo la pathian ni du lo nak the opposite dorian tu chu
and then they have so much views I mean like
Chumale.
the sneakers that he came out with remember I'm sure you guys remember
Christian ka bad name kan nei tam tok te ka te kan ma in zau in kleo na an mu lo chun kan von sim beten jisu kan von te vete chun
they already know yeah they're like oh I've known I
so na
know
male okay nang chu mi so na si intis hon sam intis hon thang chu mo
yeah
chu te ka kan dan kan nun dan kan zia za rau rin kan bible ti ve kan mu ka kan lang ter ka tu so it's more like I want to live the way he want me to live rather than what the world or myself want to live chu mi rong ase ka study ding te ka thok ve see
Ata. I
Why are you
mean,
laughing, Jacob?
I think our conversation was much needed, more especially for me, because I needed to reflect and see how God has delivered me. And patiani in umpit na le patiani kapari atat nak pole in run yang katadang in run sok tan po mo maka tui ka situation ton ke. Wait for the Lord, take heart and wait for the Lord. Literally, that was our Bible verse for when we had our commencement.
And pretty much
kom
about
hai
this
sabik
talk too.
kan kom hai sabik aka kami ka Bible verse kas to ansiar me, and that was crazy because tuni tiang ki that's still it for me. Wait for the Lord, take heart and wait for the Lord.
Tui kan tong mi kan ma ke ma kanun nakal tu mi rau resi kan now Jacob kal kami rau re kan alak ting lau du sak. Cause man, we be rushing.
Talking about rushing, that's me. Oh my gosh. And then it's so hard when God puts the brake on. It's like, whoa, it's like, I wanted to keep going, but then it's like reality check. God is like, slow down.
And man, that kind of brought back memories. Kan roi papa kan ni kan kau rana kan ki US ka tempe ki kau ran kanum lai te he me minong pakat pa chu angal to ko bek ena chu vek kan om chu vek chu kati re ro kan rak phun re ro minong khalin like kan ma khalin chu tinum na kan ti ro khala ke du lao kan roi pa ni yang tin se ti se but hianin cha na kim te ka amana to amazing like don't worry about it. But one thing that he said to me, kay ma enti mi cho, nang makala hivek tin pun na tiang ng karal ringon te. Ziyang atile, tau kam paritlak an na law, nan in paritlak an na. So nang ma misingay, pi misang, pi tin na ruwati na kay dangi, na kay na asang, to kay natlak asil na natok dang. So nga tau kam pari, na umveten na teok veten kan tumo. So tika na natlak hali na nalaw dang. Di mite in simika, kami kakachin nunga ka umreng so nga mi mai malte ay katit hey ngay si mi nakin katit hey ngay si tika vonti akale wait no this is not me this is what God did it for me then katumbok vital tell kami te ka so like he said that to me back in like 2018 hello
but yeah, I mean adang bit ding mi na nailay mo
na itok law anything producer
No.
But I mean himi episode hi time ka zau chia lo nan ki arai zik vek yum nan kha in rak ngai tu ni tiang tu in ngai bom asile khalte nan malamin ka se nan nun na ka pacheni lam lo shoi zia ki yang ka tadang to ki hiti ti zameni rot silo in kamo rot tak really like mi ka o jo sabi in suit mi vek en kanang male nang ma su to kola pacheni nan nun na ki alo kai shoi dan kha na tampi na musok din ka zoom chun mailam jan khala se mo yang tin si pacheni du dan vekin kanong ning ti mi thlacham dan kha se tampi kha kanzer sok din ka zomi tu veki in rak ngai in rak share sak tha in pek tu nan zaten kan long oizet mailam khala se tha in pek shri de kha kan lo som do be long oi santa sunta